of her reporting. Either way, our next guest says all of this is doing damage to the progressive cause tonight. Victor Davis Hanson is senior fellow at the Hoover Institution. He joins me live. Victor, we're going to get to the Mitch McConnell situation, the attacks on him in a moment. But when it comes to Maddow, she pushed this DNC-funded anti-Trump dossier, and it turned out to be bunk.
Yeah. Well, there's the playwright Euripides once posed the question, what is wisdom? And he came down on the side of pragmatism and ordinary people's superior intellect to the intellectual classes. And this whole psychodrama of impeachment has pitted this elite against common people. So in the case of the Rhodes Scholar, Rachel Maddow, when she was reassuring America that the Steele dossier was correct, you could go on and listen to Rush Limbaugh or hear Sean Hannity, both without sophisticated degrees, who were practical, pragmatic, and pointed out chapter and verse how it could not be true. Same thing with Devin Nunes. Devin Nunes' memo was trash. He was caricatured as a farmer. Turned out that Horowitz basically substantiated every point, and the Harvard Law graduate Adam Schiff was completely erroneous and disingenuous. When we got to the Mueller investigation, remember we were told there's a dream team, there's a hunter-killer team, there's all-stars from the Ivy League, and they're pitted against these sort of Cobb and John Dowd and Jay Sekulow. These people will just melt before this Ivy League firepower, and it didn't happen then either. And I think it's a reminder about the symbolic lesson from the 2016 election, that this country's got to take a deep look at who is intelligent and who is honest and who is virtuous, and it's not synonymous with all of these people with these star-studded resumes.
And you could go across
we see
the
it again and again, especially in the case of Rachel Maddow.
Yeah, let's start with the media. We can get to Congress in a minute. In terms of Maddow, she's not the only one in the media. A whole bunch of people in mainstream media were pushing the dossier again and again, that it's somehow corroborated, or at least pieces of it. Is there ever going to be, you mentioned a moment ago, learning lessons from 2016. Has anybody in the media learned anything?
I don't think so. I think they feel that, and we see that with the Shorenstein's survey, that 90% of the mainstream media's coverage has been biased. They feel that Donald Trump poses an existential threat to the entire progressive agenda, and therefore any means necessary are justified by that noble end of removing him. And it's sad. I think they thought they were going to bleed him with 1,000 cuts, but after the Emoluments Clause, the Logan Act, the 25th Amendment, Robert Mueller's embarrassing testimony, Ukraine recession, the people turned off. They're turned off, and it's not dramatic. It's not climatic. But what we were seeing is incrementally and insidiously, Trump's polls are going up and support for impeachment's going down, and that's created a lot of frustration. We didn't have a recession, the economy is booming, and the Democrats now are reduced to kind of a sword of Damocles hanging over Trump. This is impeachment, and every once in a while we'll throw something in and maybe the sword will get lower, but they don't know what to do right now because the American people are not with them. They didn't have a special counsel report. They didn't have bipartisan support. They didn't have public support. They didn't have specific crimes like bribery and treason or high crimes and misdemeanors outlined in the Constitution. It just wasn't like the Nixon impeachment inquiry or the actual impeachment trial of Clinton. I think people caught on to that.
Yeah, take that point to Mitch McConnell and a Senate impeachment trial now. We're seeing, as I said at the top, there could be legitimate questions. Where are the lines for a Senate Majority Leader and a White House? But to then suggest he's leading a Klansman's trial, are Democrats making the same mistake here now?
Yeah, I think what's happening, Ed, is the entire impeachment process is starting to mirror image the candidates on the Democratic stage that are calling for the new Green Deal or wealth tax or reparation or open borders. They're just out of sync with the American people. They're not aware of how ridiculous this sounds. This whole cycle, the latest cycle of impeachment, started when the whistleblower did not go first to the Inspector General of the Intelligence Committee. He went to Adam Schiff, who then lied about it, and they cooked up with his staff the whole process that got us to where we are. And Ed, remember, there's going to be 4 senators talking about impartiality and conflict of interest, Booker and Klobuchar and Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders, who are going to be sitting in judgment on Donald Trump, who is going to be probably the Republican nominee, and one of them thinks they're going to be running against him. How disinterested is that going to be?
Right. So, Victor,
this is what politics is all about, and when they're on the losing end, and they're on the losing end of public support for it, and I can understand why they're frustrated.
So Victor, then play this out with Nancy Pelosi then. She's somebody we haven't mentioned yet. Why in the world is she holding on to the articles? Why hasn't she just cut bait at this point if, as you say, Democrats are losing this battle?
Because she was reassured at every step of this process by the left-wing base of the Democratic Party, and that's sort of a misnomer because the entire party is left-wing now. But that something would come up, we would have a recession, or the Ukraine thing would break it wide open, or Adam Schiff's rhetorical brilliance would change the whole tempo of the country. And it never happened. She went along, and now she's at an impasse, and she's looking and saying, you know what? The emperor has no clothes, and what am I going to do? I've already impeached him. So now she's going to let it sit out there and hope that somebody can come to the rescue and say, you know what? There's a new whistleblower. There's a new document. There's something new. We can add that on. We can just keep it up. And what she doesn't understand is that she's lost the support of the American people. They're tired of it. And the longer that thing sits out there and is so contrary to past protocol and tradition, the even more angry people are going to get. All right. These polls are, they're pretty clear that it's not dramatic, but it's just drip by drip by drip. The Democrats are losing the public support that they thought they had in the bag.
Victor Davis Hanson, appreciate you coming in, and an early Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Also here tonight, Republican Congressman